Yeah, hi everyone. It's so lovely to be here and see so many faces. So I'll do a quick intro to me first before handing over to the rest of the panel, just so you know who I am. I'm a 30-year-old with CF and CF-related diabetes, and I'm a patient at Royal Papworth in Cambridge. By day, I'm a branding specialist and a coach, but I'm also a qualified personal trainer, and I've had a long and varied experience with exercise, and that can be everything from dance to weightlifting. And now I do a lot of work around managing breathing with mindful movement. So I'm really excited to see how this panel pans out. There's some great questions coming. So I'm going to hand over to Nicole, if you want to introduce yourself next, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Nicole Allen. I'm 22 with cystic fibrosis, and I'm also a fitness instructor and yoga teacher. A lot of my career has been in sport and exercise science, and I also teach for Beam CF, which a few of you might have heard of, and also for the Cystic Fibrosis Trust Youth Group. Thank you for having me.
Great. And Simon, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Simon. I'm a 39-year-old with CF based in the west of Scotland. I've always strongly associated exercise as a key component of my CF care, along with strict adherence to medical therapies. I've maintained complete shielding since the start of March last year, as I've very much had to restructure my normal routines and explore new types of exercise. I've been fortunate enough to engage in an excellent exercise programme through the West of Scotland physio team, and this has been beneficial tremendously for both physical and mental health.
Amazing, thank you. I've got two Lisas on tonight's call, but let's start with Lisa Hyde.
Hi there, my name's Lisa Hyde. I'm a mother to our daughter Sophia, who's got cystic fibrosis. She's, we've been shielding, and now I'm not shielding, and we've been doing lots and lots of different things, which we'll go through in a bit talking wise, but on the whole, everything's good in Essex.
Awesome. Hef, you're up next.
My name is Hef, and I'm the exercise practitioner at Frimley Park Hospital. My background before I came to Frimley was a personal trainer, where I worked on cruise ships, corporate gyms, and I've also done athletics, played tennis, so I like to be quite active.
Go Hef! Yay!
Cool. Now we've got two of our amazing specialist CF physiotherapists. Let's start with you, Helen.
Hi, I'm Helen Douglas. I'm a paediatric CF physio working at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and I also have a research post at UCL Great Ormond Street Institute of Child Health, where my research has really been focused on exercise and physical activity for children and young people with CF.
Great. And last but by no means least, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Morrison. I'm one of the physiotherapists that works in the west of Scotland with adults with cystic fibrosis. I've had a long involvement in cystic fibrosis care and a keen interest in promoting exercise. I've been involved in the 2020 ACPCF Standards of Care, so that's available on the CF Trust website, and also involved with the European Cystic Fibrosis Society Exercise Working Group as well. We've also been running the virtual exercise groups over the last 2 months now, and 6 weeks in the summer holidays. So that's what Simon was talking about when we were talking about virtual exercises and trying to look at something a little bit different. And again, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So you can see we've got an amazing panel for you guys. I'm going to launch straight into the first question because we've got so many to get through, and I know we're going to be tight on time. So straight away, I'm going to direct this one to firstly Simon and then Nicole. These past few months have seen us all change and adapt our exercise habits, of course, due to the pandemic, to lockdowns, to shielding. So Simon and Nicole, what has this experience been like for you? How has your physio and exercise habits had to change?
Well, shielding has obviously been a fairly prolonged period of worry and anxiety. And I know at my end, my wife and I firstly focused on ensuring we had what we needed, medicines, supplies, but very much our next priority was to create a new structure, and exercise and maintaining, and if not, hopefully improving health was very much high priority. Like most, we initially gravitated towards online exercise classes with the likes of Joe Wicks, who I think we all owe a big thank you to. We dug out old exercise equipment from home. We had access to the Beam platform ultimately through the West of Scotland service. So this was all like massively beneficial. I've always been really motivated with exercise and seen it as an integral part of health. And even at my lowest health, I still wanted to push and exercise. So I currently exercise with oxygen, which does complicate things slightly, but it's not a complete barrier to doing so. The West of Scotland programme, and I'm sorry if I've already referring to this a few times, has been a massive thing, and it runs through the Beam platform, which again has been mentioned. This provided a broad array of classes from HIIT, Pilates, yoga, general fitness, body fit, etc. And really it catered for all levels, which meant it was really accessible for myself and others. And it was also under the care of team members who already knew about you and all the associated problems that you might have, like CF diabetes, arthritis, reflux disease, and other issues like that. So that's been a real lifeline. It's given a safe environment to exercise. I've also been able to meet other CF patients, which has been a real new experience, and incredibly motivational as well. So it's provided structure to my week, and it allows me to build my own work, therapies and physio around it. And with regards to physio, for me, that's always been twice a day, regular pattern. I think as treatment continues, I'll just continue to do the same, and I'll try and keep my chest as clear as possible.
I can agree a lot there with Simon as to, creating structure. I think is fundamentally really important. Prior to the lockdown, I was attending the gym, attending fitness classes, teaching as well to many people inside and outside. So yeah, when it came to shielding, I instantly created structure. I still know how important fitness is to me, not just for physical well-being, but mental well-being as well. So yeah, apart from making sure I got my Tesco's order, because that's really important, I was attending a fitness class as much as possible. I was teaching twice a week, and also I would move over to YouTube, and I actually found quite a few pre-recorded classes, not just on physical well-being, like I said, but also it's really important to think about our mental well-being. We're not going outside as often, and to make sure that we're still looking after how we're feeling. One thing I was doing was going out for walks, but I was going at really, really quiet times. So either really, really early in the morning or much later in the evening, as obviously we had nicer weather in the first lockdown. But yeah, I definitely think structure is important, because you still want to get up at a decent time. You want to make sure you get that daily exercise in, get those natural endorphins going, and you feel like you've then accomplished just something small for your day.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I'm just going to add my own experience to that as well, because I can echo so much of what you've both said. I used to be at the gym several times a week, and I haven't been since at least February last year, so it's getting on for a whole year now. Very different for me, and I'm very fortunate to have a garden and have exercise equipment at home, like some basic weights, some resistance bands, and that's a huge thing for me, because I need that feeling of like something else to take me out of my regular at-home mindset, and often just like the most basic piece of equipment can do that for me. It feels like it helps to structure my day, and walks have been a huge thing for me, really regular, as long as I can make them, and often before breakfast, so that really quickly in my day I'm getting some natural light, getting some fresh air. And also in relation to CF related diabetes, it helps me to steady my blood sugar for the rest of the day and makes that a bit more manageable. That's probably my biggest takeaway from this lockdown, is how important it is to get in a morning walk before breakfast. And it's great podcast or meditation time as well for mental health. So yeah, that's my biggest recommendation. But of course it's different with kiddos. So Lisa,
yeah,
having children at home as well makes everything very different, with nursery closures, school closures, shielding. How has the experience affected you and your family and your ability to keep your daughter healthy?
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying anyway, because we're an extremely active family. I mean, we do marathons, triathlons, swimming, diving, open swimming, you name it. We've always been extremely healthy and into our exercises. Helen will know at Great Ormond Street, whenever we go there, they're always impressed with how much Sophia does. Obviously, the first few months of shielding, we made our back garden into a boot camp HIIT session, marathons. Sophia was quite motivated what she was doing, because she couldn't see any of her friends and family. What we were doing, she was making videos for them. She was inspired by Sir Captain Tom. She did a marathon in the garden over a few days and raised lots of money for the NHS. We were trying to do little duathlons, so we would compete against each other. We made our house into treasure hunt, so you had to do 15 burpees in one room, and then you could go to another room and find a bar of chocolate, and so just mixing it up a lot of the time as well. When we were then able to kind of go out, obviously we were trying to fit homeschooling in and everything else, so you were kind of coming teacher, physio, doctor, mum, you were 100% all the jobs. But when we were allowed to go out, because of obviously the same as you guys saying about either going out early so that you didn't see lots of other humans, because we know quite a lot of rural routes, we would just kind of go off in the middle of nowhere so that we didn't see anyone. We are fortunate to have the beach a 10-minute walk away from us as well. So you know, all the family, we all love open water swimming as well. So in the summer we could do that each day, or paddle boarding and dive off the paddleboard. So it's just trying to do something different every day so that she doesn't see it as exercise. But because, say, we're quite fortunate that she always has loved exercise, it's never really been an issue with the shielding. Hers was more, I think, the fact that she couldn't go out and see friends and family. But good old Zoom, if I wish I'd have bought shares in Zoom a year ago, I think we'd all be millionaires. If a lot of her dance classes, everything went on to Zoom, everything that's, all the classes she was going to, I'd say, are kind of now on there, apart from swimming and diving. She loves trampolining, skipping, so just making your house interesting for exercise, clearing a space, saying what do you want to do today, don't put any pressure on them. If they wake up and they want a onesie day, do it at a different time of day. Get another family member to maybe call them and then do it, so it doesn't sound like you're the one kind of putting the pressure on and nagging, and really just kind of trying to really mix it up, because it gets boring for adults as well, saying you got to do this, you got to do this. And we've got quite a few people that we know are personal trainers, like triathlon groups and that, and they've been superb. They've been putting on classes for us. She's been that they've been using her as a role model, so she feels that she's being a role model for other children. So yeah, it's actually been probably the nice, with everything going on, it's been a fantastic year for us, because we've done so much more as for a family, because we were shielding, that actually normally we don't get that time to do all this. So, but yeah, just mix it up and make it interesting and have fun, and everyone do it, not just the person that's got CF. You all embrace it.
Oh my goodness, there was so much packed into that answer.
Sorry.
I love it, and I know that I can at least speak for me and Nicole when I say like how amazing it is to be by the sea. It makes such a difference. Definitely some common themes I'm seeing coming up, like environmental cues, like having like the garden as like your adventure area, or, you know, for adults, or, you know, when it's raining, it might be a certain section of the room of your house, and having that environmental cue for like, that's my space to do this, can be really helpful. And oh my God, I cannot tell you how many scavenger hunts me and the family have done during lockdown to keep us sane and like get that sense of adventure. But it does get you off your bum as well. So it depends what you're hunting for, I guess, how motivated you might be. Anyway, let's hand over to hear what some of the professionals think. So we know that CF care has really had to change. Routines have been delivered remotely. How has physiotherapy care for children and adults for CF been impacted by the pandemic? And how have physiotherapists adapted the care that they provide? I'd love to know like what the challenges are as well there. So let's go to Lisa first, and then we'll jump to Helen.
Well, obviously a lot of things has had to change. The good thing about it was that the red tape that we normally experience in the NHS was kind of jumped over really quickly, and we were enabled to use the remote monitoring and the virtual clinics as we hadn't been previously able to use. So obviously things like physical examination has been challenging. We've had to, as physios, really pay very close attention to listening to an individual when they're telling you things over a virtual platform, so that we can hear breathing if that's what we're trying to assess, or we can actually ask more relevant questions and listen to the answers a wee bit quicker than we would have when we would had our hands to do an assessment. I think we've also seen quite a lot of unexpected positives, and just like the other Lisa was saying there, that if you people have actually, because they've been shielding, they've sometimes done a little bit more physiotherapy than they previously had, because they've said they've had time to do it and they've had time to do their medications, and they've also had time to think about what exercise opportunities that are available to them are. We had initially, we had a lot of people saying, I can't buy exercise equipment, everything's sold out. So that was pivotal, really. We had to try to think about what we could bring to the patients in the home if they had no exercise equipment. So that's kind of why we embarked upon the live exercises that we brought within our group, so that we could give the patients body related exercises without equipment. And I work with adults, so I actually never thought about scavenger hunts with our adults, and maybe that's something we'll bring into the next 6-week block time. And so chocolate in different rooms, and let's get the skipping ropes out instead of other things that we do. But we've definitely seen a lot of people improve their adherence and their attendance at clinic. A couple of weeks ago we had really bad snow, and sometimes when you have snow in a clinic in Scotland, a lot of people don't attend and you get a little bit of a quieter clinic. I was thinking, oh right, I'll get some paperwork done at this clinic because there'll be nobody comes. Of course, everybody came because it's a virtual clinic. So in some respects, it's been really, really positive, because we have had the opportunity to speak to people in their own home. A lot of patients have felt it's been a more relaxed, natural discussion, and they felt happier because they haven't had to concern themselves with cross-infection. So definitely some positives related to shielding, some negatives obviously, but we're trying our best to overcome them, and we're very, very open to suggestions. So if people have suggestions that we can take on board and bring to our respective clinics, then we're all very happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Let's hear from Helen what your experience has been like.
So some real similarities to Lisa. Obviously, a huge amount went online. Essentially, I guess the key message is that essential care in the hospital still continued. So it wasn't that we weren't seeing people, but we were only bringing people in if they absolutely needed to come into the hospital, and everyone else we were seeing remotely. And the same as Lisa, the red tape was cut straight away. We managed to get remote clinics and virtual clinics up and running really quickly, which was fantastic, and actually have reviewed really well. And I suspect there will be some element of that will continue forevermore, which is a fantastic change. I think the one difference, listening to what Lisa was saying about adults perhaps having a little bit more time to do their physio and exercise at home, I think from a family perspective, actually it's perhaps gone the other way. Parents, as Lisa Hyde just mentioned, parents became absolutely everybody to their child. From teacher, physio, doctor, parent, they were having to manage everything, and the competing demands of all of that whilst trying to maintain their own work as well was a real challenge, and we heard that coming through from a lot of the families that we work with. And not surprisingly, it was very different for us to try and manage as well. The approach that we took from our clinic is we tried to provide some ideas and resources. We sent out weekly physical activity newsletters, which we then reduced down to fortnightly. And part of that, we had leaderboards so that children, just like Lisa said, Sophia was quite keen to find out how other people are doing, how can compete against each other. So we ran leaderboards as part of that as well. So if children wanted to get involved in the challenges, then they could send us information about how they did, and they could feature in the next newsletter if they wanted to. But it was also a great way of us hearing all of the fantastic ideas that families had come up with themselves, and was a way of us sharing that around our community as well. We came up with a number of ideas, but it's been about being as imaginative as you can and keeping that variety going. So hearing everything that everyone else was doing and being able to share that was fantastic. We also, not surprisingly, a lot of the children that we work with have benefited benefited for a number of years from the Nuffield Exercise Collaboration, and they were really missing their personal training sessions. We tried to plug a bit of that gap with our exercise technician from our service, has been running some one-to-one Zoom-based exercise sessions, so replicating that personal training role. He's not able to do that every week for everybody, but certainly those who were struggling to get motivated, needed a bit of support or education as to how they could exercise effectively at home, he was able to provide those for people as well. And again, I hope that some of that element will be able to continue longer term. And providing support for people who perhaps were doing a lot more physical activity at school or at clubs. Some clubs have been brilliant, have been able to transfer online, and others perhaps less so. So it was about finding resources that people could use for that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. It sounds like there's been such a balance of positives as well as challenges. And I think we've all learned so much from this that CF Care will probably improve a lot for the long run for us, having these new little tips and tricks. Lisa, I especially loved what you said about people having more time to do increased physiotherapy. That's brilliant news. Like, I know that when I was first at home, especially during lockdown, I was like telling myself, like, right, I'm gonna treat this like a retreat, and I'm gonna do all the things that you would do on a wellness retreat, like meditation and yoga and breathing exercises. And it really worked. And I did up, like, just by changing the way that I framed that in my mind, it did give me more time and more focus to do more physiotherapy. It does work. So thinking more about like the exercise side of things in clinic, Hef, can you tell us a bit about your role as an exercise practitioner and how the pandemic's affected your work over the past few months? We know not everyone will have access to an exercise practitioner in their team for tailored advice, but if there's any advice that you want to offer people in the session, that would be awesome too.
Yeah, my job has changed quite a bit since COVID started. So before COVID, I would try and see everyone at annual reviews or do inpatients, see them at clinics, do one-to-one exercise sessions where they'll come and see me, and also go to gyms and do gym programs suitable to the patient. So for example, with inpatients, I would do anything from going to a walk to go for a run with a patient, a weight-based session, a hip-based session, a stretching-based session, all really dependent on the person and what they wanted and what was best for them. After COVID, it's gone more virtual, where I see more people one-to-one via Zoom, via WhatsApp, and I also start doing exercise classes. So the exercise classes we've started doing, I do 2 a day, and they range from stretch and tone to HIIT, aerobics, body tone, and spinning. And the one-to-one sessions, again, are just a wide amount of whatever is suitable, whatever everyone wants to do. I'm really lucky at Frimley that we've got a good charity, the CF Frimley Trust, and they provide me with equipment. So we've got a wide range of equipment to use for everyone, which ranges from resistance bands, weights, spin bikes, exercise bikes, treadmills, and nearly everything I wish, which is really useful for me and for everyone else, all the patients at Frimley. So since COVID started, since I've started doing the exercise classes, I think we've seen a massive increase in exercise at the unit and also in everyone's exercise tolerance. And I think that everyone's improved by quite a big amount. And it's not just to do exercise, we also got a social aspect. Or when you do classes, when you're shielding, you can't see anyone. Now we have the social aspect of you can see other patients, you can see other people, they know how you feel. And even from coughing, when you go to a normal class, if you start coughing, everyone looks at you, people turn around thinking what's going on here. They're poorly, too rile. In this class, coughing's absolutely normal. Coughing's, as we all know, coughing's absolutely normal with CF. So I like to think that I bring that our classes are fun, they're social, and the other bonus of the classes is you improve your exercise tolerance. So I know that not everyone has an exercise practitioner in the units, but the best way to I would say, to get active for everyone is try and set yourself goals, try and move around as much as you can and try and keep it fun. Because if you enjoy something, you're going to do it more often. If you don't enjoy it, you ain't going to do it. So try and keep it fun. And that, I think, ranges from the young children, where I wouldn't force anyone exercise on young children if they don't enjoy it, because they're going to have a resentment towards it when they get older and when they have a say. So keep it fun, and just, that's my main thing. And that's what I think I bring to the CF unit at Frimley.
I love that. I can tell that. And it makes such a difference when you find something you enjoy, and it might not be like the bog standard going for a jog or taking a certain type of class, but everyone will find something. And maybe you're thinking scavenger hunt, and that's totally fine. I can see a lot of chat in the chat box about CAF Trio. So I'm feeling like we might even need another session on like physical activity and CAF Trio. But yes, Abigail, I'm very much enjoying having CAF Trio. I know like some of our other panel members are too. Let's jump back to Simon and Nicole, because I really want to talk about setting new fitness resolutions, since we've just come into the new year. But of course, motivation can be a bit of a big issue, especially in the winter months when it's dark and cold and you just want to snuggle under a duvet. So how do you guys get motivated? Let's start with Nicole this time.
Yeah, so I have to admit that, not everyone's perfect, and you will sometimes have those duvet days that you don't want to do much. But when it comes down to creating new goals, they don't always have to be directly CF related. They can just be small goals that you want to achieve on a daily basis. Or one thing I really enjoyed is wearing my Fitbit. So I give myself little goals to get my 10,000 steps, maybe in 2 days because I'm not moving as much, or to have the end of a week, I want to get this many steps. Again, just quickly pointing on CAF Trio, I definitely am going to create some new fitness goals due to the change in my health. I always think it's good to continue challenging your body, especially as you're starting to feel a little bit fitter. I would also say that even if you don't have a specific area to exercise in, it's always good to give yourself a time in the day. So I'm part of a WhatsApp group with just 1 or 2 other CF friends, and we sometimes meet at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday evening or a Sunday. And that, again, gives me a little bit of motivation to be like, oh, yes, I'm going to go to that class. And again, with those little things, I'm going to try and keep that resolution going, and we're going to try as a group to keep that going throughout the weeks while we're inside. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be huge resolutions. I think even if you give yourself a small goal to get up maybe one day a little bit earlier and go for a slightly longer walk from your house, go 2-3 blocks further away than you normally would. Just little goals, little hurrahs throughout the day are super important. And again, that's going to spur you on to do lots of things each day that goes by.
Great. And Simon?
Yeah, I mean, I can agree entirely with a lot of what Nicole said there. I've very much set my mind over the past 3.5 years to try and push back and regain some lung function after a dip. So lockdown, yeah, it's been hard, but I very much wanted to make the time a period where I can dedicate time that I didn't have before to increase health if possible. So yeah, I've tried to incorporate exercise every day into my daily routine. Really just tried to make it as crucial a part of the day as any other part. And as we've mentioned through chat, the mental and physical benefits are immense. And that sort of feeling of getting your breathing and your heart rate up, and then the release of endorphins, it really pays off and gets you through a week. And you begin to look forward to it. So often getting engaged in that first few sessions is the barrier, I guess. And once you start, it gets better and better. Certainly getting outside in some fresh air is important. If you've got a garden, that can be a lot easier than those that don't. But I suppose just adjusting your mindset and trying to think that, a rainy day walk is just as good as a dry sunny day. These are things that help. And as Nicole mentioned, as we all start to find ourselves with access to fitness trackers and home spirometry, if you're driven by numbers like I tend to be, you can use that to set goals. I'm also pretty competitive, so exercising with somebody is super helpful. I'm fortunate I've got my wife who's been shielding with me here at home, and we kind of push each other and motivate. So if you're having a slightly less enthusiastic day, it can be really helpful to have somebody else to try and bolster that. So yeah, families with kids, etc., everybody should be taking part. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. Shielding with my other half, he's my biggest motivator because I know that he motivates me and keeps me accountable, but I also want to be active because it keeps him active and healthy, and it's good for both of us in our relationship. And yeah, that's a really great point. I also want to add that I'm not big on resolutions because I'm a bit of a rebel and I will tend to break them. But one thing I do at the beginning of a new year is I will do like a past year review. So rather than setting myself big ambitious goals and putting a lot of pressure on myself, instead I'll look back and be like, okay, what worked really well, or what did I enjoy? I'm just going to try and do more of that without too much pressure on myself. And I will also start really small. So today it was, okay, I'm not quite feeling doing a workout, but if I go for a walk and get some fresh air, then I'll probably be a little bit more perked up and ready to go once I've started moving. Sometimes it's just getting changed. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm just going to go get my weights out or get a resistance band. And having a list of really small things you can do where like you just give yourself the choice, because sometimes you don't want to do it because you feel like you have to. But if you've got a choice of, okay, well, I can start by getting changed. I can start by just stepping out in the garden. I can start by doing 3 squats or by getting my water bottle filled. Then it kind of makes you feel like you do have some flexibility and some kind of autonomy as to how you do it, which we know can be nice for CF when you're told a lot of the time, I have to do this or feel like I should do that. So having even the smallest of steps in a list that you have choice and control over can be a really good place to start. I'm keen to know though, what happens when you have a family as well, because I guess, Lisa, it's not just you motivating your daughter, but perhaps there are some days you need to motivate yourself to go through that with her too. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, my husband he used to always be all over the world, international business. So for him to all of a sudden, all 3 of us be here constantly since March last year has been great, because we can kind of use each other. If I'm not that motivated, I can say, oh, can you do this, or vice versa. So it has been easier. But with us, I mean, we will, especially just before it gets dark, we will say, right, we know the sunset, it's a beautiful day today. There's, we know the sunset's going to be great. We will pack a rucksack and we'll go and we'll say, right, we're going to do a 5-kilometre walk. And we will walk a different route and we'll go and watch the birds and we'll watch the sunset. And I think anyone that can just get out, even if it's for a 10-minute walk or a 2-hour walk or take the dogs, as soon as you go outside, even in the rain, we will still go for a walk, because I think not every day is perfect and the weather's not going to be perfect. So you can't just think, oh, I'll only do it on a good day. Just put a coat on, put your waterproofs on, and go for a walk in the woods. Mix it up. Like, don't go to the same places all the time, because it does get boring. You don't walk the same route. Walk somewhere different. Like you've said, go 2 blocks, 2 roads more. We're always quite motivated, but I think we're quite structured. So we've always been quite structured. So we would say, right, at 5 o'clock we will do this each day. So we know that she's got lessons online, so we would fit things around that. We'll get up in the morning and we'll say at weekend, okay, we've got the spin bike, so Daddy's going to do 5k, I'm going to do 1k, and so we'll give each other challenges like that as well. So I think it is making family goals as well, and even making a chart just to say, if you do all of these today, we'll buy this, or or we'll watch this movie, or so it's just kind of it's the rewards that you get as well, making it not just, oh, you've got to do this physio today, or you've got to do this, and I think because of her CF, it works the other way. She actually motivates us. We don't motivate her, she actually motivates us, I would say, most of the time, because we want her to be healthy. She knows she wants to be healthy, but I think she's got so much energy, it kind of flows back our way.
Yeah, I get that. It sounds like you guys are amazing role models to her as well. You did mention something as well about, like, you know, you've said so often, like, oh, you know, we'll wake up and we'll see, like, what do we feel like doing? And I think that's so important as well as starting small. Maybe have a list of things that you like doing depending on your energy levels or your mood. So you know, if you're in like high energy spirits, maybe you love to run. Maybe if it's cold and miserable outside though, a 10-minute stretch, and you can set a timer. That's another really great way to stay motivated, is just be like, I'll set a timer, and as soon as that goes off, I can stop if I want to. It could be for 2 minutes, for 4 minutes. I used to do this a lot with percussion physio. I'd do like 1 minute per side. But of course, then once I started, it didn't feel so bad. So that kind of thing, like knowing what will suit your energy and what will suit your mood, is really important, so you don't feel too boxed in, and like you've got options. Now,
she doesn't really actually, you know, she doesn't like doing a cappella. Who sits there wanting to do that for? So we will say, do your a cappella, do 10 blows, then run out the room, run back in, do twist around, do trampoline, just anything, just make it fun. Like Hef said, if it's fun, you'll do it. If it's not fun, you won't.
Yeah, I experimented a lot with this in the first lockdown. I was like doing mine in the garden and doing breathing exercises in the garden and being like, okay, well, can I do breathing exercises when I add movement, and all those sorts of things? Or can I combine it with meditation and be really mindful? Like if I close my eyes and really feel the breath, it allowed me to concentrate a bit more. Whereas if my eyes open, the TV's on, I'm bound to get more distracted. So there are so many little tips and tricks that you can use and implement depending on how you're feeling each day and what you need. So I think we should still be kind to ourselves in that respect. Now, we've spoken quite a bit about getting outside. Lisa, you especially mentioned that a lot. And of course, in the first lockdown, a lot of people with CF were choosing to shield and follow that government advice. But now the advice has changed and we are suggested to go outdoors to exercise. So not everyone loves like jogging or cycling. And I know we've got some creative minds on this panel. So I just want to hear from a couple of you, what are your favourite ways to make the most of the limited time that we do have outdoors?
I'm happy to say something.
Yeah,
first of all, I'd say that, again, because it isn't summer anymore, it's definitely important to embrace the weather that's outside. Like, no matter if it's raining, then put your raincoat on. You know, some of you are experiencing snow. I wish there was snow down here in East Sussex. I would definitely be outside. Yeah, and again, for sunny days, like really accepting those and getting out as much as possible. A couple of things I have done, again, walking. I'm not really a fan of jogging. Again, from kind of my fitness background, I've suffered quite a bit of shin splints, so running's kind of out of the game for me. But walking, hiking, there are loads of hills down on the South Downs here, so it's never really flat. Putting my earphones in, I would definitely recommend that. You kind of escape yourself from the world around you. You forget about coronavirus. You forget everything that's kind of going on. You listen to your favorite beats, get like yourself power walking, great podcasts. I have really enjoyed listening to some quite comedic podcasts, like try not to laugh out loud while I'm walking up a hill. Little things like that, just want to put a smile on your face. I've also said, or we've just written here, finding little achievements. So again, as I mentioned, walking a little bit further than you have done before, or even just getting up Google Maps on your phone. And because I only moved into my house just before the first lockdown, so I was actually new to the area. And I just looked on my maps and thought, oh, there's a park there. I don't know how to get there. So I just put it in my Google Maps, 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk. And it was quite nice because I was finding little new adventures to do and finding new parks and areas where I live, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, definitely, again, making games, you can do this with your kids, just making a game out of something, or maybe if they wanted to pick something on the map to walk to, or yeah, like, I bet you can't do this, or I bet you can't run to the end of the road. And yeah, just making little games out of being outdoors is really nice. But yeah, I definitely recommend earphones.
Yeah, I love that. And Helen, you must hear from a lot of families that have kids. How are they finding they are making the most of the time outdoors to keep their kids active with CF?
Yeah, again, really varied. So some children are itching to get out every single day, want to go to the park, want to play. But then I've heard from some families where it's the parents who are desperate to get out the house. And actually, the kids are having a great time. They're active in the house because they're young, and they're, you know, jumping on and off the sofas and things, and actually it's parents having to persuade the children to go out. The things that we've come up with they're no different to the things we've talked about already. We've recommended a lot of scavenger hunts. Make a list of the things you want to go and find. Go for a walk and find the perfect stick, because what child doesn't like to find a really good stick? Also, activity trackers. There are now a number of activity trackers which are designed specifically for children. Fitbit have one, Garmin have one, so they can then get competitive and build on their step count each day. Most of them also measure active time, so they can monitor really how intensely they're active rather than just their total step count. And you can set challenges with friends, with family, and then they can get rewards as part of that. So all those sorts of things have really helped families to be more active outside. I think the biggest thing is managing anxiety, though, not surprisingly, having been recommended to Shield to start with, actually being told, no, it's okay, you can go out, it's good to go out and exercise, was a really difficult thing for people to then to readapt back into that way of thinking as well. But it's about variety. One of the other things that we've suggested is the 3 words app, where each 3 meters squared in the world is denoted by 3 particular words. And so some children have been round to various things that they know, and what are the words that mark here, and likewise the other way, they'll find 3 funny words somewhere and then they'll go to that place. You know, it's variety and imagination, and just sharing ideas is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree, like, it's so important for mental health as well. Like, sometimes I would just go outside, and rather than focusing on walking, I would focus on what I can see, and I would just do laps of the garden, especially in first lockdown. And I've never been so acutely aware of what flowers flower at what time of year, and how long they last, and what vegetables grow when, or fruits that we had on the garden. I've never been so hyper aware, and that was so good for my mental health. To just do a lap like 3 times a day for 5 minutes made a huge difference. So yeah, I know this panel is about physical activity, and we've spoken a lot about physical health, but mental health, of course, is super important too. So let's move on a little bit, because I want to also talk about what we do indoors, because when we're indoors, of course, we have a lot of things competing for our attention. The dishwasher's beeping, and food needs to be cooked, and everything needs to be done as usual. So there are a lot of competing demands, especially with homeschooling. What are the best ways that some of you have found to fit in physical activity on top of everything else? Are there small things you do? Is it a big thing that you aim to do? How do you manage it? And I'm happy for anyone to jump in here now. Let's get all the ideas that we can.
I think a lot of people say time's a problem, because even if you're shielding, there's a good chance you might be working. So one thing I encourage is try and be active whenever you can, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and also try and fit in exercise when you're brushing your teeth, when you're washing the dishes. For example, brushing your teeth, you can do 10 squats. Washing the dishes, you can do calf raises, go up and down the steps 2-3 times every hour. Just little things like that, it all makes a difference at the end.
I think from a children's point of view, parents have got so many pressures managing homeschooling with their children as well. But one of the really important messages is there's a huge amount of evidence that the more physically active a child is, the easier they will find it to learn and complete their lessons. So actually not feeling under huge pressure of they've got to be working on their schoolwork for X number of hours every day. Actually, in a normal school day, there are at least 2, probably 3 break times where the child will be up and moving around and encouraged to get out and play. So actually, for parents who are worrying about homeschooling, building in physical activity sessions into that timetable of the school day is really important, and will promote their child's learning as well.
I think another great idea to add on to all of that as well is, if you are an adult with CF and you are working from home, maybe you're stuck within 9 to 5, or you struggle to fit in exercise, and by 5 PM you're absolutely knackered, I would recommend like active bites. So take like 10 minutes, do some exercise, and then go back onto your desk. I've also thought about, you know, different stretches you could do while sitting. So I've taught a couple of classes on Beam CF that are chair workout specific classes. So again, there are ways to exercise in 10-15 minutes, or just grab yourself 3 workouts online to do while sitting at your desk. Little things like that, and then you know if you take 3 separate 10 minutes in your working day, you've ended up doing 30 minutes of exercise. Really quickly wanted to mention, there are loads of comments on the chat regarding CF youth, and again talking to Lisa about her daughter doing quite a lot of activities throughout the first lockdown and also throughout the next lockdown. I have been teaching for the CF Trust Youth Group, dance exercise classes, yoga specific classes, and there are loads of other things non-fitness related that they do as well. And the response I've had from not just the parents but the children wanting to, again, it's always about competitive fun, me saying, oh, show me this. I've been doing loads of animal yoga with them, and they've been telling me their favorite animals, and then before you know it, they've done 20 yoga poses and they don't even know. So it's been really exciting things like that. I've actually even been teaching some of the children some yogic breathing, again, to help alongside physiotherapy, to also help improve your performance with lung functions. Again, just making fun out of like how many line breaths you can do, or how many big huffs and puffs can you do. And again, before you know it, they've done some physio. So yeah, hiding the fact of that you're actually doing something to do with CF and just making fun is really important.
Yeah, and I can see Anna's commented on the chat that they do a kitchen dance party. Like, yes, I'm here for that. Honestly, a remote portable speaker has probably been my lifeline during
Disco ball.
Yes, that too. That's what I need in my kitchen. But whether I was doing classes on Beam and like I'd put on some meditation music in the background when I was doing like Nicole's Restorative Yoga and getting super zen, or if I'm in the kitchen, I'll put on something upbeat and I'll find myself dancing around and getting slightly out of breath. And it doesn't feel like exercise, it feels really joyful. I think that's what we're aiming for here, isn't it? Is to find like little moments of delight in our day. And if they get our heart rate up a bit as well, or get us into nature, that's all for the better.
Can I just say as well, also we're talking about exercise, but physical activity counts towards that too. So things like DIY or doing your housework. I know kids don't do housework, maybe we could get them into that because it would help their parents out, but certainly doing things like hoovering, cleaning your windows, doing your skirting boards, those kind of things. I was doing my housework one Saturday and thought, oh gosh, some of the patients might struggle with some of this. So let's incorporate these kind of exercises into the classes that we do. So you forget that lunges is what you do when you do the hoovering and that kind of thing. So even though you don't think you're doing an exercise, much like all the games we've talked about, hoovering and home and housework and domestic chores and DIY and cleaning the garden and stuff like that, cleaning the car, these are all things that are physically challenging and count towards your exercise minutes in the week. So all these things are good too.
That is such a good point. And again, like those things, find ways to make them joyful. Like for me, like I've said, it's music. But for you, it might be like having company, or it might be setting a timer and setting yourself a challenge. How quickly can you get it done? And everyone's motivated slightly differently, but if you find what works for you, like it will be more sustainable in the long run. Speaking of which, I want to know, like we've spoken a lot about how we've adapted our habits, but Simon, Nicole, Lisa, I want to know like how you're going to take your individual changes or your family exercise habits that have changed into the future. So once gyms reopen and normal life starts to resume, whenever that may be, is there anything you're really keen to keep doing that you weren't before? Anything that's really positive that's come out of this for you? Let's go to Simon first.
Yeah, so I've invested in some additional basic exercise equipment, although as Lisa touched upon, you find yourself joining a seemingly vast queue of people waiting for it to come into stock. And we had some stuff at home anyway, but certainly the prospect of exercising at home is now easier and it's more varied. Equally, you could step up and down onto a dining chair, etc. You could climb your stairs, like Hef said. So there's loads you can do at home, and I certainly will continue to do that. But I would like to see a return to some of my normal activities, which for me were things like bouldering. But personally at the moment, I just can't see myself pursuing that until probably the second vaccine's been done. As the prospect of entering a big gym with hundreds of people touching the same holds just seems slightly risk-taking behaviour. But certainly a positive for me from this period has been exploring new types of exercise, meeting other CF patients, which is entirely just quite changing. I've made friends with some. I'm getting to work more closely than ever with the local physio team, and the relationship with them is entirely new. It just feels so different. They're more like friends than sort of that patient professional. So it's all been really motivational, and I suppose if there was a single take-home message from me to other people, it would be, if you have a similar local program to engage with it, whether that's through your regional CF team or whether it's through the CF Trust, yeah, I think it's been a real boon from the period, if you can say that.
I think ours, once all of Sophia's many classes come back, she does so many, I'm just going to be taxi mum again. But I think with us, because we live so close to the woods, we've done more biking together and just all being outside together. And like you say, looking at all the different fauna and flora that you probably didn't even really notice before, and enjoying sunrises, sunsets, and just having days together, still exercising, but actually at a slower pace, that you're still exercising, but you're actually looking back at how much you enjoy it rather than running around just stressing all the time. I think it's made us appreciate that when you do exercise, you're exercising, and it's mentally better for you as well. So I think ours will, it won't change much for us, but I think what we take away from it is all being together and say enjoying family exercise rather than you doing this, you doing this, you doing this.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with lots of things that have been said. Before COVID, my diary was literally stuck to my hip. I'd try and drain all my energy out of every single day to make sure I've achieved something every single day. And it was really hard for me to slow down. It was really hard for me to enjoy the simplicity of every single day. However, because we've been made to do it, I've actually quite enjoyed it now. And seeing a blank day in the diary is quite exciting. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I have rest days, because I don't rest often unless I'm in hospital or I'm having IVs. And in terms of resting, I have done a lot of learning. I've attended a few workshops, and I've learned more about restorative yoga, which there are many different types of yoga, but restorative yoga is literally all about complete calmness, resting in poses for like 5 to 7 minutes, blankets, cushions, you name it. And that has really helped me, because I've looked at the complete opposite of kind of who I am, active, bubbly, all over the place. And to be still, to listen to my breathing, to look after my body, and also to help with recovery of those days that I maybe haven't felt too well, restorative yoga has been great. So that's one thing I'm going to also continue. And lastly, it's definitely going to be the community and the CF friends that I have made. I've got friends with CF now all over the world, in America and Australia as well. And that's literally from me reaching out to them on Instagram, us, liking each other's posts or commenting on each other's posts, to Beam, teaching on Beam and seeing all of my lovely CF friends every single day, talking about our positives, our negatives. Sometimes we're feeling down, sometimes we're, feeling a little bit more perky. Definitely going to keep that going, because talking to somebody else who knows what you're going through is amazing. You can moan all you like, but they're the ones who understand, because you feel like they also are going through it. However, a couple of things I will go back to. I do really miss the gym. I will only go when I feel safe, but I really want to do some weight training again. I really used to enjoy that. And getting back on the water, swimming and supping, I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, it'll be so lovely to get back to water as well, like to public space. So I will just quickly add on that one. You mentioned about rest, Nicole. it's been really important to me as well to like rediscover that side of myself, where like I'm usually so busy, I'm out and about, I'm busy all day, and usually I'm pretty good at fitting in my treatments, but it comes with a lot of pressure, and I can be a bit hard on myself and be like, oh, I should have done more. And I think that's the nature of CF, isn't it? You always feel like you could do one more session, 10 more minutes, whatever it is. And it's actually really important sometimes to slow down the pace, because stress can take its toll as well, and finding new ways to rest and relax and just give yourself time guilt-free to do what you need to do and take some self-care minutes that aren't prescription self-care is really important as well. I know we're running super close to time, so thank you everyone who's stuck with us. I have a final question that I just want to bring to Lisa and Helen, which is really important. So we wanted to talk about what other information and support is out there to help people get active. Obviously the CF team at People's Clinics should be the first point of contact for questions about physiotherapy, changes to exercise regimes and all of that kind of stuff. But could you tell us what other support is available?
Well, obviously the CF Trust are very instrumental in helping provide funding for equipment if you need it. The health and wellbeing grants have been particularly useful, and a lot of our patients in the west of Scotland have benefited from access to that, to buy equipment or access to gyms if that was possible, or even sometimes although we offer our BEAM classes live from funding that we've had, you can have access to the BEAM if you apply through the CF Trust. There's lots of leaflets in the CF Trust repertoire that talk about postural correction, exercise, things like pelvic floor stuff that sometimes worries some patients or some people with CF, sorry. And those leaflets have also been ratified by the ACPCS, so physios have been involved in the creating of these things. The other things like that, there's a new Instagram page that I think the ACPCF, so the Physiotherapy Association, have been putting together called CF Spartans, and that's going to put out some live classes over the next few while. I think it just was created over the last few days, so that's not got a lot of content yet, but that's something to look out for, because I think they're going to be encouraging physical activity also. BEAM, as everybody has said, is a fantastic platform, and if your unit doesn't have opportunity to do live classes, please do get in touch with your physio, because it might be something that they're waiting to hear about from you, or they might just need a little nudge towards trying to be creative and think about it. We've had many conversations, and I'm sure Helen has as well, with other physios in other areas of the country that are interested in setting up something like what we've got and what HEF delivers, and they just it sometimes takes a little bit of time to get that up with resources and staffing to see how it works and get through some of the red tape. But if you're interested in stuff like that, please do try. And I think Jacqueline's going to mention it, but the CF Trust are going to put on some online live exercise classes over February and March, and I think we're going to do some HIIT classes and some yoga and Pilates, so you'll see some of us delivering those classes. If you want to get involved, please do, because I think we can't do it without you guys, and we'll continue to do more if there's a need to deliver these services.
Yeah, I think the only thing from a children's point of view to add on top of everything that Lisa's just said is the Nuffield CF exercise programme, which is available to all children and young people with CF across the UK, albeit if there's a Nuffield close to you. Obviously that's not running just at the moment, but they will still be taking memberships. They've got an app that's available, and I think that the app's available to non-members as well, and there's a lot of exercise content on there. It's not CF specific, but there's a lot of really good variety of exercise on there as well. And then once things settle a bit more, then the programme will be back up and running, so that children and young people will be able to get in and access the personal training opportunities, and families are able to get that free membership as well. So it's really promoting exercise and activity to the whole family.
Wow, thank you so much. There is so much support out there for anyone who goes looking for it. Thank you for giving that info to cover all bases. So I know we've had so many questions submitted prior to this conversation, and I think we've probably managed to answer some of them in the questions that we have covered. Others that are maybe a bit more specific, we will absolutely follow up on email with the people who've asked those questions, really unique to their situation. And we've also had this chat thread absolutely blowing up. So thank you to everyone for being so engaged and involved in your care or your family's care. It's amazing to see all this conversation going on. I know we can't get to everyone tonight, but I certainly speak for myself, and I think everyone else in the team has also agreed that we will follow up with everyone whose questions weren't answered to give you the responses that you are hoping for. So the chat will be saved. Anything that was pre-submitted is already logged, and we will get back to you. So I'm going to wrap up the discussion since we're already running a little past 8 o'clock. And just say a huge thank you to our panel. You guys inspire me so much. I think you're all absolutely incredible in your own ways, and I'm just so grateful to be here with you wonderful humans. So thank you so much for being here. And Jacqueline and everyone at the CF Trust, thank you for having me facilitate this as well. It's been such a joy. And Jacqueline, I'm going to hand back to you now because I know you've got some final bits to wrap up with.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much for that session. It was absolutely incredible. And thank you for your brilliant facilitation, Natalie. But thank you to all of our panel members. There's so much useful information in there. I'm really glad we've recorded it because I'm sure some people will probably want to go back and have a look and listen again to get some of those tips. There's just so much good stuff in there. So thank you all very much. Like Natalie said, we will have a look at the questions we haven't got round to and see if we can put together some responses from the panel and send those out, perhaps with the link. There will be a link to the footage. There will be some feedback forms that are sent to you afterwards. So please let us know your thoughts on the event, and if there's anything you'd like us to cover at a future event as well, because we can certainly look at that. So just before we close, I just wanted to let you know about a few things that we have coming up. So I think my colleagues are putting some slides up. There we go, brilliant. So our next CF Live event is going to be on involvement, and that's on the 24th of February, I think. That's going to be all the ways that you can get involved with the Trust work and share your views and make sure that the things we're doing are kind of meeting your needs and that kind of thing. So it would be really great to see some of you there. On the 6th of March, which is a Saturday, we're also going to be holding a kind of information and support coffee morning, which is being held by the Trust Information and Support team, just to let you know about support that's available to you, whether it's things like our information resources, our welfare advice, our welfare grants, our online activities that we offer. So that will just be an informal morning where you can drop by and hear about all of that kind of thing. We're also going to be holding some events for both young people and adults, which has been touched on. So Nicole obviously runs a lot of events for our youth programme. She's running one next Saturday, which is a yoga event for up to 25, but we're also going to be running some events for adults. Again, working with Lisa and the physio group to do some HIIT events and some Pilates, and also working with Nicole to do some yoga and potentially some mindfulness type events as well. So we're just sorting out the dates for those, but they'll be running in February and March. So if you keep an eye on our social media pages, we'll be releasing the dates there when they are confirmed. We do also have a page on our website that is all about the pandemic, and we have some information on there as well about keeping physically well and looking after your mental well-being as well. So we also have a couple of other things coming up that I just wanted to highlight. So one is our Get Active new fundraising challenge. So especially if you're feeling inspired after this evening, then this is something that you can do to take on a challenge to get active and raise funds to help us continue our work while doing so. So these are all kind of different kind of activity challenges. So you can find out a bit more on the web address that's shown there, Get Active. And then next month we are running something called February. So if you're in need of a cup of tea and a biscuit after all that activity, or all that talk of activity, then we have a slightly more sedate fundraising campaign that you can be part of, and that is sharing a cup of your favourite brew with friends, family and work colleagues, and again helping us to raise funds. So hopefully there's something there you'll find interesting. But just to say thank you all again so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evenings. A huge thank you again to our panel and facilitator, and we hope to see you all again at a future event. So have a good evening. Thank you.